Hot take, I guess, kind of, but only if you listen to the critics. I didn't think it was that bad. I kind of liked it.
It was okay.
Yeah.
But being tied with Eternals, it's not that bad.
No, I would even say, I would go so far as to say that I enjoyed it better than Thor: Love and Thunder. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if I would say that either of them is the better movie, because on a technical level, who knows how much is left out on the cutting room floor. Apparently, this movie utilized a soundstage that the Mandalorian uses, which enables you to, I don't know how it works exactly, but it enables you to basically film within a 3D space without having to use green screen. I'm explaining it wrong, probably, but one of the technical aspects of filming this movie that I am aware of is most of it does not use practical sets. It's almost all CG. Almost entirely CG. And obviously that's going to be one of the things that people are complaining about with the movie specifically. Spoilers. MODOK in the movie. I've been seeing a...
Fuck. Who even liked MODOK to begin with?
There's some MODOK...
It's a fucking shitty character. I'm sorry.
There's some MODOK fans out there. I think...
It's just fucking big floating head. And about they want to be upset because it looks stupid in the movie. He always looks stupid. Maybe not that dumb, but dumb nonetheless.
I saw an argument saying that he should have been uglier. Because, like, in the comics, he's this wrinkly, old, decrepit, like, he kind of looks like Krang from Ninja Turtles, like the literal brain in a glass jar.
Yeah, maybe his head should have been, like, fucking weird because he got crushed, in the first movie, but he's, like, fine,
Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought MODOK was fine. I think most of the cast did a pretty good job. Michelle Pfeiffer got a lot more to do in this movie, and she kind of killed it. I say kind of killed it because, I don't know, with actors like that, with like Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer and these actors who are known for their more dramatically acclaimed roles, when they join the MCU, I feel like, one, it's for a quick, big buck to put like an Academy Award nominated or winning name on a poster for an MCU and to be like, oh yeah, I'm in the MCU,
I will say the Bill Murray cameo was a fucking waste.
Yep. Yeah, it was. I saw someone compare it to trying to achieve the same wacky success that Jeff Goldblum had as the Grandmaster in Ragnarok.
Except he was in the whole movie.
Yeah, and Bill Murray gets killed in the same scene that he's introduced.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even... He does a little bit of exposition dump, but not really. Like, all he does is rat, Group A out to Kang, who don't even get captured by Kang, by the way. They escape. And he divulges some information about Janet Van Dyne, Michelle Pfeiffer, like, having sex with him in the quantum realm, and it just sets up like a punchline between him and her and Michael Douglas, about like, well, I got needs too.
Yeah.
So it is a waste. There's no point to that, character. It could have been any other existing character in the movie, and it would have given them more value. But because it was Bill Murray, yeah. And he wasn't even that funny. And it seemed like he was phoning it in just a little bit. Which is fair. Bill Murray's in his 70s. He probably doesn't even know what MCU stands for. He was probably offered a role by his manager because Peyton Reed, the director of this movie, or someone on the crew was like, what would be fun if we got Bill Murray in a wacky superhero movie? And then, they touched base with his manager or his booking agent, and he was like, yeah, sure. How much money? More than Garfield?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, the whole scene where there's a shitload of him,
Yeah.
Like, that was really good.
Yeah.
I really like the ice cream line.
Yeah.
That was actually, like, a really funny line, which doesn't happen a lot these days.
Right. What was the
like
what was the line?
Like there's a Baskin Robbins one of him, and then like you hear like one of them in the fucking back like, you got any ice cream?
Yeah, dude. That entire sequence. So there's a sequence where basically, and I liked this aspect of the movie where Kang, he talks to Ant-Man. He's basically like, hey man, you're gonna help me get this thing that Janet stole from me in the quantum realm because I hear you're a thief. And Ant-Man's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And Kang is like pushing him up against the wall, using force choke on him and his daughter who were in opposite sides of the room. And he's like, you don't have a choice here. Like, I can literally kill both of you right now. I'm gonna kill her first, and I'm gonna make you watch, and then you're gonna die in the most excruciating death that I can imagine because I can do anything. Which, I'll explain that in a little bit about Kang in general, but I like that they brought back the idea that, oh yeah, no, he's a thief. Like Scott Lang, he's a thief, and like his ant powers, you know, they're not necessarily meant for these big grandiose adventures. You know, like in Endgame, it was a good addition, you know, and in Civil War, he makes a good additional supporting player in a cast. But doing his own movie, like, his power isn't flashy enough to be, like, the big end-all, be-all. You know, he doesn't have any finishing moves, right? But, yeah, so he gets sent into this area where Kang's MacGuffin basically has been stolen and is located. And he he shrinks down so far that he gets thrown into, they call it like a chaos something.
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Infinite,
a chaos.
Whatever he said. Every decision you can ever make.
Yeah. Whatever. So the second that Scott doubts himself, it creates another Scott who makes a slightly different decision. And it gets so out of hand that there are like hundreds of Scott Langs. One of them is a Baskin Robbins version of him, and he's not in the Ant-Man costume, and he's just in his Baskin Robbins uniform. And that's really good. But visually, that scene, it's so good. Like, I think thematically that scene works really well because Scott's character in this movie, again, is about wanting to be a good dad. I feel like that's his whole thing. Is just wanting to be a good dad for Cassie. Thematically it works because he's able to make all of the Scotts come together once he figures out what he's fighting for, and it's Cassie. And then the Wasp, you know, Evangeline Lilly swoops down, and there's a million of her. And there's like a good like visual, you know, there's a good scene that just looks really good where it's a million of her and a million of him, like, and then there's a single point where they're reaching for each other, and it looks really cool. I think this movie would make a better art book than it does a movie. Like, just all of the wacky special effects and all of the background characters and all of the, you know, like the storyboarding. I think it would be more entertaining as reading through, you know, like, oh man, that looks really cool, or that looks really cool, you know, rather than it be its own movie. But yeah, what'd you think of Cassie? Like, let's start talking about the new character. So we already talked about MODOK a little bit, but what did you think about Cassie's character?
I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird how she just like knew how to do everything, you know? Like, you go to like the first Ant-Man movie and there's a whole like part where they're training him like how to use a suit.
Right.
And then there's a line or two, or he was like, yeah, you just got to time it right. He's like, whatever, Dad. And then she just does it.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of silly.
Yeah, and she already has a suit. I'm assuming, like, Hank made it for her. We don't know how long she's been using the suit, but either it's not been long enough to where she can time the punch right, which I think Hank would be able to teach her because he was also Ant-Man.
Yeah.
or it's been long enough and she just hasn't used the suit in that capacity yet. Because in the beginning of the movie, she's in jail, but because she was at a protest for, I forget what the protest was about, but she shrinks a cop car, and I think that's why she gets arrested. So it's like, it's kind of funny. Also, she's recast. Don't know why. Don't know why she's not the same actor from Endgame who played Cassie, who I honestly thought looked more like Paul Rudd than Catherine Newton, the new actor, does. But it's whatever.
Cassie's age jumps are kind of weird also.
Yeah.
Like, she just... Like, the jump from, like, into Endgame, like, that's not 5 years. That's, like, 10.
Yeah.
The year she got older. And now she's, like, looks... Yeah, it's weird. Cassie's just a weird situation, and I don't like it.
Yeah, Cassie's a weird situation. Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. This is a Kang variant separate from the
The Loki one.
Yeah, the Loki one. What do we think? Is Jonathan Majors a Thanos, like an Avengers level threat?
I mean, maybe not yet, but like I don't know. I mean, sure he's strong, but like, there's not enough yet, I don't think.
Yeah. So, I think as a character, Jonathan Majors, as a character actor, in the very few things that I've seen him in, which is Loki season 1 and this movie, as far as how he plays Kang, it is very... whatever the opposite, it's not very subtle. Like, his character acting as Kang is very, you can see the emotion on his face, which I guess makes him a really, really good actor. But the first time that I saw him, I thought he was like way over eccentric. And there's a little bit of that in this movie, I feel too, where, you know, he's angry, so you can see him do do, you know, one of those, and like his face twitches, and I think that just might be his interpretation of Kang. But no, his interactions with Michelle Pfeiffer are really good. There's a flashback scene to where he crash lands in the quantum realm. We find out it's because he got exiled by the other Kangs, basically the Citadel of Kangs. That's just a bunch of variants of him. For essentially starting the multiversal war, I think is what happened. Yeah, so he befriends Janet in the quantum realm, and then she finds out, you know, what he does and what he has done, and she freaks out, and she's like, we can't let you out, and blah, blah, blah. But their interactions were pretty good. I was also confused as to why he's so powerful, because, like, Thanos, he's like a celestial being. He's big. He's as big as the Hulk, you know. He's very strong, and he's got the Infinity Stones, right? Kang, as far as I was aware, as far as what I heard in this movie, he's just got a lot of tech. He's just got a lot of really cool tech. He's basically like Rick from like Rick and Morty. He's just got like a bunch of wacky weapons that do random things because he's able to go to any timeline and like pick what. Are you about to sneeze, or is that a judgmental?
It's my disgust in that fucking dog shit show.
Yeah, which is probably going to be run into the ground now that Justin Roiland has been exposed as being a piece of shit.
Surprise.
This isn't about Rick and Morty. This is about which there is actually a writer of Rick and Morty who wrote for this movie. Yeah. Shut the Why? I didn't say her name. I'm not going to call her mean things, though. I feel like that only encourages her to interrupt the podcast. So, yeah, and then, so I thought Kang was good. I'm excited to see what he does in the future as Kang. And obviously we're going to see a little bit more of him in season 2 of Loki, which was another, spoiler, whatever. The second post-credit scene of this movie is just a scene that's going to be used in Loki. Surprise, surprise. And then Darren Criss, the MODOK, the joke where people see him and they're like, Darren? That gets old a little quick. Also, his whole interaction with Cassie towards the end of the movie about like, like what am I supposed to do?
I
like,
hate
who
that
am
it
I?
was him. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I swear, there's no character that just fucking dies and is gone. Like, they'll always come back somehow. I think that's annoying.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not super familiar with MODOK as a character. Like, so I couldn't tell you where he comes from or who builds MODOK because he's a machine and he's a murderous organism designed only for killing, or a machine organism designed, whatever. But yeah, I feel like maybe they'll pull a Mandarin here and they'll actually build like a real MODOK later in the MCU. Plus, if what I'm led to believe will happen over the course of the next couple of phases of the MCU is true, then we're getting a whole rebooted universe anyway, where Marvel Studios can basically reinvent characters either the way that they were supposed to be introduced through the comics, or they'll introduce them in different ways. So like maybe instead of Peter Parker we'll have Miles Morales finally, or maybe instead of Iron Man as an adult we'll get like teenage Tony Stark or whatever. Like there are so many comic books to take from, and I doubt this will be the last time that we see MODOK as a character on screen. But yeah, what about high points of the movie? Like, what are some positives for you?
It had a really cool scene. Kang is cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Like, I was very... I don't know, man. It's not great.
I don't think it's great, but I definitely think it's good. Especially if you like Paul Rudd and if you like Ant-Man as a character, which I personally do.
The world was neat. I mean, there's a shitload of, like, new species of people and things.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I think the creature design was really cool. Kang's minions, his little robot people, I like that they're basically they have a vocal effect on their voices where they sound like Macintosh computers. Mm-hmm. So like when they get flung off screen and they scream, they're like, or it's like a person screaming, but it sounds like it's being processed through like a 2-bit vocal processor.
Yeah. Also, the movie ends really weird.
Yeah,
like when the credits rolled, I was like, okay, that was it, huh?
It's a weird edit. I thought Scott was gonna die. I'm assuming that's why they're setting up all of these young versions of the heroes that we knew in the Avengers. It's like you got Cassie as, I think her name is Stature. That's her hero name. They never say it in the movie, at least I don't think. You got Kate Bishop as Hawkeye. You got Riri Williams as Ironheart for Iron Man. You got Ms. Marvel for Captain Marvel. So you got all of these like younger heroes that are probably going to take the mantle in Phase 6 or whatever. Because Kang's dynasty is probably going to be when a lot of people die.
Yeah.
Like, we're probably going to get, like, a snap level shock ending at the end of Kang's dynasty where, like, Jeremy, like, Clint Barton's probably going to die. Scott's probably going to die. Like, Captain Marvel might die, and, like, all of the older heroes are probably going to usher in the new generation, and they're going to have to come together over their shared grief of their mentors passing away, and then there are going to be incursions, and we're going to see we're going to see the same heroes from different universes. So we might get a different character playing like Hawkeye. You might get like a character playing a de-aged Michael Douglas as like original Ant-Man Hank Pym in like the old suit. I don't know. Yeah, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, because these actors can't stick around forever. They're not Chris Sabat. They're not fucking voice shit for like 40 years. Fucking crazy.
And sound better. Like, I think Vegeta sounds better than he ever
Dude, it's
has.
like I'm watching the OG Dragon Ball and he's in that one too.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
just from like the 80s?
I think it was dubbed in the late 90s. Cuz the original Dragon Ball Z aired in like 92, 93. So like Majin Buu saga was like before we were born. Like that was over. But that show, like that saga was being dubbed, I think when we were kids, like it was still on the air in like 2004. So I think OG Dragon Ball had just started getting dubbed like in the 90s. But still, that's like, I mean, you're right. It's almost like 40 years.
Yeah. Wild.
And yeah. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, I think it's definitely not the best Ant-Man movie. It will not be the best movie of Phase 5. At least I hope not.
Yeah, 47's too low, but like, 55, I would put it at.
I'd probably put it in the 60s if we were doing Rotten Tomatoes score. But yeah, man, I think as far as Phase 5 goes, Guardians 3 has huge potential.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Also not excited. And fucking the Marvels, bro, I'm going on discount day. I'm sorry.
Really? We got to see what that trailer looks like.
Yeah, but it's like Captain Marvel, I don't really give a shit about. I didn't watch Miss Marvel, so I really don't give a shit about her. So I'm just like, yeah, no, I can wait on that one.
All right. Well, yeah, and it sounds like that the MCU is going to slow it down a little bit after, you know, the success or lack thereof of Phase 4. So
thank God.
We'll see if the quality seems to spike or get better, or maybe ushering in new heroes, new younger hero versions of our old Avengers will also usher in a team of, you know, new writers and new directors and people who have more creative freedom. That's probably what the reboot is going to do also, is like we're probably going to get like detached MCU stuff. So it might not be shared universe, but I don't know. We'll see. By then, you and I will be in our 30s, and I'm still going to be going to see superhero movies with you, I hope. But, you know, only time will tell.